inglés y en la medida en que Bob vaya hablando en inglés o que Bea esté hablando en inglés, ustedes van a estar escuchando la presentación en inglés. Si ustedes están en off, van a oír lo que pasa en la sala. Es decir, si yo hablo en inglés o hablo en español, ustedes me van a oír en inglés y en español. Pero si eligen un idioma en particular, van a oír ese idioma en particular. ¿Listo? Entonces, por ejemplo, si ustedes se van ahorita a la sala en inglés, van a oír cómo Bea le está traduciendo mi voz a Bob y Bob está muy feliz escuchando a Bea siendo mi interpretación. Bueno, pues buenas noches a todos. Para mí es un gusto enorme tenerlos aquí en la noche de hoy. Sé que muchos de ustedes están en este momento buscando la posibilidad de entrar en un mundo nuevo, en un espacio de cambio para sus vidas o en un espacio de posibilidades para sus vidas con respecto al coaching y a la consultoría. Sé que muchos otros de ustedes son líderes y están acá es porque quieren escuchar a Bob hablando acerca del liderazgo generativo, pero sobre todo puesto en el concepto de el valor y cómo crear valor para generar el futuro que nosotros queremos. Y de eso se trata, sean líderes o sean coaches, con la intención de empezar un mundo nuevo, una transición nueva para su vida en el liderazgo o para su vida en el coaching y en la consultoría. Hay algo con lo que siempre nos vamos a encontrar y son estas voces internas que nos dicen, "Ay, yo no puedo hacerlo, con lo que estoy haciendo hoy no lo logro. ¿Será que sí puedo? No, no puedo, pero yo sí quiero este futuro, pero no lo logro". Entonces, la razón por la que le pedí a Bob que hoy habláramos acerca de cómo generar valor para construir el futuro que yo quiero es porque algo que hemos aprendido las personas que llevamos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hasta 10 años o más en el liderazgo generativo, Bob ya lleva 40, es que el futuro lo construimos nosotros y que el futuro lo construimos nosotros porque nos importa crear ese futuro que queremos crear, porque estamos convencidos de que ese es el futuro que queremos crear y porque buscamos las maneras de poder construir ese futuro que queremos crear. Entonces, para mí va a ser un deleite hoy poder traerles a Bob, porque recuerdo la primera vez que yo lo vi a él y lo oí diciendo esto, yo pensaba, no, esto no es posible. Y cuando cuando conocí a Bob hace muchos años, yo era quien organizaba sus conferencias. Yo era esa personita que estaba atrás en las conferencias, pasando los handouts o haciendo la traducción o organizando el salón. Bob tiene, de hecho, una frase muy bonita para las personas que estamos en el área de logística y es que si todo salió bien, nadie se dio cuenta que nosotros existimos. Y hoy en día soy su partner y su socia en todo el continente latinoamericano y he aprendido a que el futuro que yo quiero y al futuro que yo, con el futuro en el que yo creo que me da mi propósito, que es el que yo quiero conseguir, lo puedo conseguir a través de mi intención, de mis acciones, de mi decisión o mi capacidad de elección, pero adicionalmente de mi compromiso. Así que voy a dejarlos con Bob. Bob, muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Seguramente la manera como Bob va a hacer bueno, él nos dirá, pero normalmente lo que hacemos es que Bob genera conversaciones. Así que él seguramente nos hablará del tema de valor agregado y después empezaremos a construir una conversación acerca de cómo generar el mundo que queremos y cómo construir valor para el mundo que queremos, sea el que sea, estando en el presente en el que estamos, pero enfocados en el futuro. Bob, they are all yours.
Beautiful. Hola. Give me a high tens. Can you say hello? Yes. Okay. We have people who are live. About half of the people have your cameras off. So if you don't have any clothes on, I understand. But if you can turn on your camera, I would prefer that we be present, that we connect, that we have a conversation, that we not watch a show. And appreciate a lot if we can be together here in the conversation. And so thank you, Mary Bell, for the invitation. And I'm happy to see many familiar faces here. Thank you for joining the conversation. And the title of that I was asked to speak to, How to Create Value. That's a very Western question. I mean, Western culture. Western culture is an action culture. We always want to know how. How do I do it? How do I make it? How do I become rich and famous? How do I live in bliss? But we have learned in our journey, the question how is the wrong question to start with. I'm going to take us to the question and the answer of how, but the question that we need to lead with is, what are we dealing with? When we don't know what we're dealing with, answering the question how is only done with our default what. If you're a physician and you don't know anatomy, how to do brain surgery is going to be a difficult question to answer. So I'm going to ask for your patience to go through the journey with me here. And then after creating value, the title here was For the Future You Want. And I'm going to have some questions here. What is the future? If we're going to answer the question to create a future, what is the future? And I think the last word in the title is a profound question. What do you want? What do you really want? And where did that want come from? Is what you want is only what you've been told to want for your entire life? Do you know what your soul wants? If you're in the space of action in the world and you're working with clients, do you know what they want really? It's usually not what they ask for. So how do you know what people want? We have so many answers that are given to us about what we should want. And so I'm going to explore these questions with you to come up with an answer that we call generative. The generative answer is an answer of action that you can see and do that will actually produce the result. Are you interested? I need to see a little more activity here. Like, yeah, give me some energy. Okay, fantastic. Good, good. So this introduction, I want to introduce yourself to yourself. If you're, I see my friend Andres here. So Andres, I want you to say, hello, Andres, to yourself. And I'm going to ask a question. Do you know yourself? Do you know what kind of human being you are? Do you actually know what you want deeply? Because when we work with people in leadership, sometimes the beginning place of their journey is very shallow, very mechanical. Oh, I want some tips and techniques. Oh, I want to do a little better. Oh, I want some more money. But if we're going to learn how to create value, I'm going to ask a question. Why play so small? And I mentioned, what does your soul want? Because what is going to make your life journey worth living? If this sounds like I'm getting deep for a leadership conversation, I don't think it's deep. I think it's actually what the leadership journey is all about. If you're not living your life fully on this journey, what are you doing? Being a better vending machine for clients? Being a little bit a better performer? So I want us to take that as an invitation for possibility. And if you want to produce the future that you want in the world of leadership and consulting and coaching, it only happens because you create a future for others that they want. And so this question of what is a human being? What do human beings really want? What do I want? What does the client want? These are not abstract, irrelevant questions. They are the core. And most people and most of what is passing for leadership development or deep consulting in organizations is tips and techniques, not the real core. And so I'm going to give you a framework for thinking together here in this conversation. I'm going to make some claims and we'll try to unpack it in a way that makes sense for all of us. How are we doing here? You with me? Okay. So I'm going to make a claim that as a human being, you are creating the future already. And so this question, if I'm creating the future already, how come I'm not getting more of what I want? Maybe not knowing what you want is part of the challenge. And I'll ask another question. What is worth wanting? And so by provoking you this way, I'm trying to have us begin to look at shallow answers that really aren't in the depths of a life journey, and going to that depth and saying, I really want to create value that makes my life worth living. I really want to create value that transforms the possibilities of my clients. And I want to link the two of them. I want to create huge value for me by creating huge value for clients. That's the game you're being invited to here. And this journey, this commitment to go there is not trivial, because you have to break out of the common sense of our culture. The common sense of our culture will keep us small. So let me get more concrete here with you, how I began my journey in this perspective. This was almost 40 years ago. And it was in Silicon Valley in California. And I was a computer guy. The computers were cool. And having fun with computers. I actually worked in the aerospace industry and was the head of the onboard software team for the Hubble Space Telescope for 5 years. It's fascinating. And then I went to the commercial part of the computer industry. Yeah.
Well,
no?
Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry about the position.
Are we okay?
Beatriz was asking you what was the position you had in the Hubble telescope.
Oh, I had many positions in the Hubble Space Telescope. I was the team leader for the programmers who programmed the computer on the vehicle, on the Hubble. And we were the brains of the Hubble. We made it move. We made it feel what was going on. We managed the data. It was a lot of fun for a techie nerd like me. And then I went to the commercial world, and I was in a company in Silicon Valley that wanted to invent a new product, a new computer, a new wonderful thing. And a year after I was working on that project, the project was canceled, and I was in the real world. I was in the company that was struggling because they had been a Silicon Valley success story, making a product that was wildly successful, and they failed to come out with the next product. In technology, a good product lasts about a year. And then you have to have something new. This company could not come up with something new. And the mood of the people was terrible. People were quitting the company. And I, after being in this wonderful invent the new computer project, I was like, why don't we do something great here? Why don't we do something excellent? And what I saw was everybody saying, no, and the company was in a death spiral. And I was invited by a new executive who came to help do a turnaround in the company. And I didn't know how to do it. Me and my big mouth talking about excellence. So they put me in charge of all the software engineers of the company, 250. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'd done some project management. Yeah, okay. So, and I had this opportunity. How am I going to do this? How am I going to create this value? Do I really want to create this value? Why did I care? And I saw that what drew me to take that job was I cared about people living in suffering rather than having their energy going into creating the future, creating success. That was my motivation. And then I had to face, I didn't have a foggy idea what I was doing. And this was my introduction to the human experience of blindness. That you see a future that you want to create, an organization that's suffering and not functioning well at all. And I think human beings should be able to be brilliant teams and create great value in the world. And I didn't know how to do it. And I searched, and by luck, I was introduced to the foundations that we now call generative. And so we have learned some things in this journey that we call generative leadership. Number one is that all action is shaped by commitment. That was a revelation. I would have never thought that. I had to be taught that. And when I saw it, everything you do comes from an internal state of commitment. And when you say, no, I'm bored, I'm not committed, I don't like it. No, you're committed to your boredom or your resignation. That is your state of commitment. And so when you go to the organizational world, we see human beings in all kinds of states. But what is the lesson of that? Your internal state dictates your external performance. That is true for you personally. That is true for your clients. And what happens when people go into organizations to coach or consult or lead? They put their focus on the external the external results, and they leave out the internal states of human beings. You cannot avoid commitment. You can be blind to it. You can ignore it. But we have learned over the past 4 decades, that is what produces action, ownership, and results. But not just commitment in the individual, but the commitment that's shared in teams. How is this done? It's done in conversation. Now, I can spend days talking to you about how to do that. In fact, we do. We spend months talking to our students about how to do that. But the point I want to make with you as a new person is to experience an illumination of blindness, because I didn't know any of this in one moment of my career. And then when I was shown that all action comes from commitment and all commitment comes from conversation, I said, oh my God, all actions and all results come from conversations. And because conversations are something we can see and do, it's accessible. It's actionable. It's generative. But the blindness that was dispelled for me was all results of behaviors of people individually and in groups and in organizations, has to do with their internal states that is then translated into conversation, coordination, agreement, or not. If this is new for you, I invite you to sit with it. But this is now the common sense of generative leadership. What is the result of having discovered that? This organization that I was in had not been able to get a product out the door in 2.5 years. That's almost a death sentence in Silicon Valley. And simply with that perspective, with a few clarifications of how to have these missing conversations, my team and I, 250 engineers, 22 managers, 35 products, we delivered all the products in new updates in 6 months, on time, on budget, 10 times higher quality than had ever been achieved before. If that had not happened, I would not be here. Because I discovered something, that conversations don't describe action, they create action. Conversations don't describe moods and emotions, they create them. Conversations don't describe the future, they create them. And that is the fundamental part. And the part of the conversation that has all this power is that it connects to the internal state of your own commitment and your own care. And so, what do people come for when they come to learn leadership, when they come to learn coaching leadership, when they come to be a consultant in the organizational world? The default is given to you from your history. So take a moment here. I asked the question before, what is value? What do you think value is? You see, if you're going to create value, you need to know what value is. And for most people, they don't know what value is. They feel it, but they don't know how to create it. And so let's explore here a little bit. But I want to name some of the defaults that people fall into. The journey of leadership is defined by what is value, what is action, what is learning, And believe it or not, by the answer to the question you live in is, what is a human being? And what we have found in our generative learning journey is that the common sense of our culture has the wrong answers for all of these questions. People don't know what action is. They don't know what value is. They don't know what learning is, because their interpretations are not generative. They're just descriptive. And so I'm going to reveal the secrets of the universe for you tonight. So take a deep breath. And when I ask people to take a deep breath, it's not about breathing. It's about letting go of the tension in your body. It's about going to openness, because the way I'm talking here could produce a lot of questions and I don't know what he means and la, la, la. I want you to just breathe, relax, and be open to the story. Be open for what is new here. So what is the story that you live in for how to succeed, for how to create a more valuable future? Here's some answers that are not very effective, but that many people live in. I am going to create the future because I work hard. Hard work will create the future I care about. Not usually. Usually what hard work does is produce hard work and exhaustion. Well, I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to do more. Teach me how to do more. That's easy. Sleep less. That's not a very powerful answer either. Oh, I know. I'm going to be an expert. I will tell people the answer. Then I'll get paid a lot. But then we find the problem. I tell people the answer and they don't do it. It's not enough. Or you're going to give me the tips and techniques. You know, if you just give me just a little, I'm almost there. I'm 98%. Give me the tip and technique. No, I'm talking about turning on a light in a dark room. I'm talking about being on the right planet. And some people will ask for, give me the model. Yeah. Hey, well, how about if I give you the model for how to play the piano? Is that going to make you play the piano? Then why do people ask for models for leadership? It's crazy. Leadership is skill, it's performance. We need to create a body that moves both in your own body and in the body of the client. Now we're beginning to see we need to go to a different place. So let me begin with the future you want, and then we'll go to value. You create value to get the future you want. What is the future you want? The word want takes us to desire. We desire many things. To get what you desire does not mean that you will satisfy your soul. I desire an ice cream cone. But when I get my ice cream cone, my soul doesn't care. There's something deeper in you than desire. There's something that is deep in you that if you can connect to it, you will feel fully alive. You will have meaning in your life. Would you like to have meaning in your life? There's something inside of us that when we connect to it, we will experience value. I think the future that we want needs to have value. and satisfaction. I think the future you want needs to have value, satisfaction, and meaning. If it doesn't, why do you want it? And so we need to look at where these come from. And in the profession of being of service to other people, the way that you will find meaning, value, and satisfaction is when you can contribute to other people finding meaning, value, and satisfaction. If this sounds philosophical or personal, business only exists to produce value and satisfaction. This is totally pragmatic. This is totally about action and results in the world. But we can't just look at actions and outcomes. We have to look at the value and satisfaction they produce. If you produce a great product that you think is valuable and satisfying and no one buys it because they don't see value and satisfaction, you're out of business. So it's not about the product. It's not about the technique. It's not about the model. It's about the value and the satisfaction that you create for you and for others. Sometimes people are so addicted to sacrifice and working hard that they really want to produce value and satisfaction for their clients, and they will destroy their lives to do it. I am a sacrificer. I'm only here for you. And we invite you to know, when you find the value and satisfaction for yourself first, you'll be on the path to a good life. Then you'll learn how to create it for clients. Then you will be more valuable because you'll know what value is. How are we doing? You with me? Okay. So let's look. If we look at the internal states that we live in, our experience, you see value and satisfaction are not in the product, they're inside you. If there's a product that one of you says, this is really valuable, and someone else says, no, it's not. That's possible, yes? Then where's the value? It's not in the product. It's in the opinion of the client. It's inside you. Value is inside the customer and inside you. It's not in the product. Then we need to learn to listen in a new way. Now I'm talking about how. What do we want to produce? Value. How? We listen. And what do we listen to? We listen to what we care about. We listen to what others care about. So what is care? How do we discover this place that is a blind spot in so much of our culture? You are a human being and you live in language. Can we all agree on that? So now we're beginning to answer the question, what is a human being? We live in stories. Fantastic. And one of the results of living in your stories is you have a future. The future is a story. There is no place called the future. It's not here yet. The future is your story. And when you think of your future, there are futures that you want and futures that you don't want. And in those possibilities, you have an emotional reaction. I want this, I don't want that. And this deep emotional reaction, not simply at the level of desire, but what fulfills your life, what produces value, satisfaction, and meaning is your care. And so if there's a product that I say, this is a very valuable product and I don't care about it, it's not valuable to me. If someone says, here's a result that's very satisfying and I don't care about it is not satisfying to me. And if someone says, here's something that's very meaningful and I don't care about it, it's not meaningful to me. And so the very source, the very core of value, satisfaction, and meaning, and value and satisfaction are the core of business, are the core of making offers, are the core of producing value and satisfaction for customers, has to do with taking care of what is cared about. And now we have connected the internal state of human beings with an external situation. Does this make sense so far? You with me? Okay. This is a blind spot in our culture, that people don't see the power of care. And what is the problem? One of the problems that this produces is, you see, you can be connected to your care or disconnected from it. Your clients are connected or disconnected. So then what are they doing? They're doing what they were told. They're doing what they learned. They're doing the procedures of their business. But they don't really connect into the power of ownership and passion and possibility without caring. And this is what produces leaders that produce high performance organizations. How do you do it? It happens in conversation, but conversation not like words, but conversations like true connection, true listening, having the real conversations that are missing. How is this pragmatic? You may be familiar with the Gallup organization. Gallup has invented the metrics and the surveys for employee engagement and employee disengagement. They measure, they do surveys. The last time I checked, they had done 27 million surveys and used their magic mathematics and determined that 69% of employees in the United States are disengaged in their work. Disengaged, what does that mean? No ownership, no care about value and satisfaction. Just think of the tremendous waste in an organization if you're disengaged. Just think of the tremendous wasteland of your life if you're disengaged. If you're disengaged from your work, if you're disengaged from your own care. And what these surveys, if you look at the Gallup surveys, they have 12 questions. 10 of them are conversations. Total pragmatic validation of what I'm saying to you. Conversations are what allow you to express and create care and commitment that then shapes action, that then enables coordination that's called teamwork, and all action and results come from that. This is a new depth of understanding of where action comes from. And I want you to see why I said at the beginning that the common sense of our culture is blind to what action really is. Action is creating the commitment that then drives the behavior. The human being is the creature that cares, from which all value, satisfaction, meaning, and action comes from. And now we're on the planet called leadership. Now we're on the planet with human beings on it instead of machines. And so the future you want is the future of value, satisfaction, and meaning. That is my proposal to you. Perhaps you prefer, no, the future I want is filled with wine. and ice cream cones. But that's the difference between, and so when we know how to create value, satisfaction, and meaning, you have the chance to have your career, your work, your offers, the value you create with others to be part of a good life. And you know what your clients really want? They want you to solve their problems. Yes. They want you to take their pain away. Yes. But what they really want is a good life also. And so that's a whole nother level from which to design the offer of your value. The offer of your value can be more than, you know what? I have a cool technique. I have an assessment tool. Let's do that. Or I can deliver a training. Let's do that. Or I can apply a technique. Let's do that. How about if you listen deeply to what is really going to be valuable for the client and show them how to create it? It's a different game. So how do we do that? We learn to listen in a new way. We learn to see in a different way. We learn to see what's missing. And one of the first transformations we have on this journey, is very pragmatic, is to notice with your clients and with yourself that you live in a set of interpretations that you learned from your life, from your education, from your history, that's full of blind spots. And when we illuminate the blind spots with more generative interpretations, ones that you can see and do, you will produce more value. This is the path of generative leadership. The first huge transformation, well, there are a number of huge transformations that we find, but one of the first is that most people in our culture have been taught to think of action and performing action and driving action as the completion of tasks. Do more. And the first transformation we give you is to say, that's not valuable. Doing tasks is like low value. Where do you get big value? Make promises that change the outcome. Make promises for outcomes that change the future. That's different than what you do. Your value does not come from your work. It does not come from your activity. It does not come from being active. It comes from the assessment of clients about the impact on their future. When you learn to listen this way, you can produce that by being more clear about what will do that for them. It's a skill. It takes practice. And if that sounds too difficult, it's what we do. It's what we teach. It's what we learn. Or you can sell an assessment tool. I can do a survey for you. They're useful, but they're not the creation of value. So how do you create value? You listen to what is cared about. And what is value? Value is an assessment that a promise, that an outcome will take care of what I care about. And it has a second dimension that I am willing to expend the commitment. I'm willing to expend the resources. I'm willing to spend the time, the money, the engagement to make this promise happen in my life. That's value. So I'll say yes to something and no to something else. How valuable is a $24 million yacht? To me, zero. I don't care about $24 million yachts. But how valuable would be a career in which every day I say, I help someone transform their future. For me, that's valuable. And that has been my path for 40 years. I'm not done learning. I feel like I'm still a beginner. I'm just getting started how to do this. And I'm so grateful with my students and colleagues, and for those of you who see the possibility here, to walk this path and learn together. And so one of the dangers here is the habit to disconnect from your care. How do you disconnect from your care? Well, you know, Bob sounds good, but that's very philosophical. It's very non-pragmatic. I'm just going to go back to what I know. I'm not going to connect to my care. I'm going to do what I have to do. I have a mortgage to pay. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up early because I have to do more tomorrow. Yeah, you can, that's a choice. Or you can learn to zoom out and saying, what's really missing here? What's really possible here, and how do I create it? And how do you create it? You create it by having the generating conversations that create commitment to do it. And this is an amazing power because people can commit to something they don't even know how to do, and they will eventually learn, design, and make it happen. That's the source of the power of the human being. And so the future that you want is the future that you care about. How do you know you care about it? It makes you alive. You experience value, satisfaction, and meaning. When you learn how to do that for yourself, then you will know how to begin offering that to your clients. When you learn the power of action to produce results is not hard work of completing tasks, but making valuable promises, you are on the path to learn how to grow your promise for the rest of your life. Why? To be more successful? No, because you care. Because it's the source of value, satisfaction, and meaning for you. Is this pragmatic? I want to go back to where I learned this my first time 40 years ago. We transformed the performance of an organization by having the conversations to have real commitment show up rather than compliance to do what was needed to be done, to take ownership. And this organization that was on the way to disaster produced a turnaround in 6 months. Again, that's what I said was that's why I'm here. I want people to know how to do that. And I've been working 40 years since to try to clarify with my colleagues what we call generative leadership is the path of how to do it. You need to find the core of your own care. For many of our students, what do they care about is a new question. Our culture doesn't teach us that. Your kids go to school and the teachers don't ask them, what do you care about? They're taught what they should care about instead of what they do care about. And so a lot of us haven't had a lot of practice with that. Many of our students take 6 months to a year to finally discover what is truly within your own heart and soul. The question is, why are you here? What do you really want? Is the invitation here is to truly find what is the source of value, satisfaction, and meaning for you. And generative coaching and consulting is being able to accompany others on their path of learning and transformation. That is connecting not just ideas, but to be able to develop the embodiment, the skill to have the conversations to produce new actions and new results. totally pragmatic, all the way from the depths of our deepest care to the coordination of teams to create value in a marketplace and be in a process where that continues. That is what we learn to do. This is possible because every human being has the fundamentals. I can listen. I can connect to my care. I can connect to your care. And for some people, this is new. And we can make agreements that will shape action, that enable our teamwork, that enable our organization, that enable our personal growth and career to flourish. So the blind spot, action, commitments that shape action. Human being, people who care and connect to it to produce value, satisfaction, and meaning. And learning takes us to the edge of what we know and don't know. And we're learning in a performance art, which means we learn skills in action, not concepts. That's something unique, I think, in our CCG programs, is we're rooted in embodied learning, which means you're learning a skill of performance. We're not talking concepts here, we're talking actions. And the results I've been talking about are what we learn to produce, because it's the way results are being produced already, except poorly, because people don't know how to do the moves well. So I have many other examples I can give of breakthroughs in various companies. And we've found in our continuing evolution of generative leadership that we're teaching people how to lead, how to manage, how to be effective teams, how to be coaches, how to be consultants, and how to be teachers. Everybody has a different path. And that's one other aspect of the CCG programs, is it's customized to you. We start where you are. We organize around what you care about, and we help you see where your learning edges are so that you're clear and relevant, that the learning you're doing works for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Everybody gets personal coaching. These are aspects that we've learned over the decades, is what this journey really takes. So let's take a deep breath. Being alive is good. Get out of your head. Just kind of feel the possibility. So how to create value for the future you want is to go beyond want to what do you really care about? What do you want your career to be really about? What is the contribution you want to make in the world? Because that will be the source of your power. When you grab that, then we need to learn how to go from what we call the me space, all about me, to the we space, where we engage with others in conversation, not words, but interactions where we truly make commitments together and create the future and then coordinate to make it happen. And part of the leadership journey is to learn that the breakdowns that many people experience in their work and organizational lives, breakdowns, bad moods, distrust, miscoordination, dissatisfaction. Many people think those are symptoms of someone to blame. No, they happen to everyone, even the excellent teams. These are part of the work of leadership. We need to grow our presence and our capacity to embrace life, to be big enough to include all of that, because that's part of the work. It is not an interference of the journey, it is part of the journey. And this is another place that much of leadership development in the world only tries to pretend here's the technique that works, and if any problem comes up, something's wrong. No, if any problem comes up, it's normal. and we learn how to dance with life as it really is by bringing our care, our commitment, our conversations, our agreements, and our willingness to create a shared future and hold each other accountable in a positive way. So, Ms. Mary Bell, how are we doing?
Bob, we are doing great. I love what I really like about what you were saying is what we create inside our students and inside of our practitioners. For me, it is about being alive, create aliveness, create the power of understand that they are here to create a future that they came here to create. No, that they have a purpose, and that purpose, if is serving through consulting and coaching or leadership, they need to get connected with themselves so they can connect with the others and serve with commitment, with choice, with courage, and with purpose, and that they can put these gifts in companies, in organizations, in families, in unions, in the kind of organizations they like, or in any kind of organization. And for me, that's also important for they to know that when we talk about organizations, we don't talk just about companies. We talk about every organization that a human being create for their life. So, for example, we have students working with families, working with couples, working with entrepreneurs. We have people working with many organizations. And one of the things that are really important for us is that they work in their lives, they create value in their lives, creating value in the lives of others, and creating value in organizations and the world. So for me, the invitation to create the future that I want is really get connected with with the soul of my coach, with the soul of my consultant, and see what I want to create in those organizations. I don't want the suffering. I don't want the pain. I don't want these 70% of people suffering or disconnected with 8 hours of their lives. But I want people creating beautiful lives for them, results that they can be proud. No, so in that way, this invitation is also to be connected with the greatness that you have inside and with the things that you want to create, because you are already creating something, as Bob is saying. And I remember the first time I listened to him saying that. He always closed the workshops telling, go and create the future because you are already doing it. And the first time I listened, that for me was like, what? I am creating a future? What is the future I'm creating? I don't know. And from that moment, in the first conference that I listened, Bob, I understood that my future is in my hands,
See.
and that my future is in my actions, in my commitment, in my choices, and in the courage, with the courage I live my life.
Beautiful.
And that's the path of the generative leadership.
Beautiful. And I want to acknowledge that the conversation I've had with you tonight is about setting a context to be on the right planet for leadership, to be on the right planet. But it also is very pragmatic. When I talk about conversations, we spend a year learning conversation. It's like if you play soccer, you need to learn how to move your feet. You need to know the rules of the game. You need to know how to move with other people, and then you need to practice. And the leadership conversations are the same. We just show you what they are. Some of them are going to be familiar and you're already good at them. Some of them will be new. Some of them you will find challenging. That's just part of the game. But it's a very pragmatic repertoire of acts and skills. And for example, in generative leadership, we know that the effective team has to have 13 conversations. And we tell you what the 13 conversations are. Then you learn them. You learn to be teams in the program. And then when you deal with clients, you can say, which of the 13 conversations are they good at and which ones are missing? So it's all about action and results. But today I wanted to give you the context that the action and results come from these internal states that you bring. And when you learn how to connect with your own care and your own commitment and see it in others, then you will begin to see this bigger world of creating value. Shall we take some?
Yeah, I would love to listen to them.
What have we provoked?
Sí.
Who would like to tell me your questions or your reactions or what's happening for you? Are you clear what you care about? Are you clear? Yeah. Please.
Well,
Margarita.
Hello.
Margarita, perdona, te interrumpo. Si quieres, puedes hablar en inglés y Bea te traduce, o puedes hablar en español y también Bea nos traduce.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. No, first of all, I wanted to tell you again that every time I hear you, I listen to what you have to tell us. There's a new edge that I feel I am arriving to. It's inspirational, and it also helps me to see what are the blind spots that I'm still having, because sometimes you feel that you have overcame some of these blind spots, but it comes again and you realize that what you learned before maybe is not yet in that level of awareness. And really, your last question just now was the question I wanted to ask you again. I know it's that is coming back and back, but about what is our care, because the care is changing so fast. And in this year, I think or at least I realized that my care was moving a little bit faster than in other years, or at least my awareness of the care that I had. So maybe if you can help us understand a little bit more what happens with this care in our lives. Is it changing? Shouldn't it change as much, or should we always have one big care and that's it? Or how does care lives?
So care is always evolving. The care of a 5-year-old is not the care of a 20-year-old, is not the care of a 50-year-old, because you have a different life, a different world. And the most important thing we've learned about care is the fact that our culture has most people disconnected from it. So to even be aware that my care matters, rather than I need to sacrifice myself into external work only, that my internal care matters, is very important. Then when you look at care, we have different dimensions of life, and we care about different things. You know, I care about the quality of my family relationships. Of course I care. And then the fact of care asks a very important question, because caring is not enough. Being aware of our care is not enough. The question the care asks us is, if you know what you care, are you taking care of it? Do you live your life taking care of your care? Or Because if you're not taking care of your care, what are you doing? You're sacrificing. You're avoiding and probably suffering in some way. And so our care becomes, when we find it, becomes our GPS in life. This is where the value, satisfaction, and meaning is. Go there. But when we look from different points of view and the different cares show up, the big care, everybody take a deep breath. The big care begins to emerge when you finally realize you're not going to live forever. You're going to live and you're going to die. And so when you look at your life, this gift that we are given to have some time, what is going to make that life worthwhile for you? That is your deep care. And that care tends to sustain, sometimes over the entire lifetime. So for example, let's say someone has discovered that their passion is to be a painter of fine art. That's their passion. I want to produce beauty. And then COVID comes and no one buys the paintings and they need to get a job delivering fast food. But the desire to do fine art and create beauty doesn't go away. That's when we have the deeper conversation with our soul. What is going to make my life fully alive and worthwhile? And you know, when we start, when this is a new conversation, sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we give up. Oh, that's just a waste of time. I'll go do something. But as we get older, this tends to become more relevant. We want meaning. And for almost everyone, Margarita, the meaning always includes others. It's not just me getting what I want, it's what do I want to contribute to others. And that's actually present in all of you, because you would not be here at this webinar if you didn't want to contribute, not just to you, but to others. Otherwise, you wouldn't be considering leadership and coaching. And so the question we bring when we find that care, when we find that passion, when we find that spark, when we find that aliveness, is saying, how do we take care of that? What is the path that opens up when I now know my care? How do I take care of that? The first requirement of that path is I need to learn. I need to be on a path of learning. I need to let this inner contribution, this inner meaning manifest in the world. And then I have questions. What am I going to learn? Who am I going to learn with? How do I learn? In our journey with leadership over the years, I've found that leadership is not the biggest challenge with leadership. We know leadership. The biggest challenge leaders have with leadership is learning. Our culture has not taught us to learn in embodied skill and in performance and in rich aliveness. And so I invite you not to answer the question, what do I care about, as a final answer. Good, that's done, checked off, I don't need to worry about it anymore. No, it's a conversation to have with your heart every day. What do I care about? Where's the life flowing? Where do I feel the blockage? When you feel that, you're going to have a sense of how to make an organization alive and where their blockages are. Where their blockages come from? Blind spots, disconnection from care, not having the right conversation, not coordinating together well. And then we begin to see, to take care If I want to contribute to organizations or groups of people, then I need to learn how to be present in their breakdown. I need to learn how to face their distrust. I need to learn how to stand in a world that is crying for help, but distrust it. And then we practice. And what the CCG story is offering, that we've spent 4 decades learning what to practice. And we're still learning, we're still inventing, but we have a lot to share. That if this is your calling, to take your contribution to the world of how other people create the world together, that's what leadership is all about. And that's what coaching leadership is all about. And that is what consulting is for. You can make a lot of money doing something else. Go sell Subway sandwiches. You can make a lot of money. That's okay. But if you want to be a coach and consultant that makes a difference for other people, this has been our passion as well, and this is what we have to offer. So find the depths and find the new expression today that comes from where am I today on my journey. Okay?
Thank you. Jorge. Jorge Padilla. Abre tu micrófono y nos cuentas. ¿Tenías la mano alzada?
That's a decline.
Jorge, ¿tenías tu mano alzada? ¿Querías hablar?
We have others.
Parece
Diego.
que no. Ya, Diego.
Sí.
Gracias, Bob. ¿En qué momento nos damos cuenta que hemos descubierto el care? Yo escribí mi propósito y mi propósito fue, perdón, que se me perdió un minuto. Perdón, un minuto. Sorry.
Diego, dilo como lo sentiste, no como lo escribiste. Dilo como lo sientes en el cuerpo.
Mi propósito es ayudar, acompañar a la gente que me rodea a que les vaya mejor en sus vidas. Ese es lo que he escrito como propósito. Pero mi duda es si ese es mi verdadero care o hay algo más. ¿Cómo detectamos cuál es nuestro care?
Very good. So the care lives inside you. It's not a concept or a statement. And so, as Maribel said, speak what's in your body. And when we're not clear about our care, when we're still discovering our care, you'll speak something that your head said, that's a real good thing. And your body goes, I don't feel it. So what you said was a very beautiful statement. Does it make you light up? Or is it a good idea? And if it doesn't really light the fires, then we need to go a little deeper. So for example, in the exploration, we could ask you, why do you care about that? Tell me. Why do you care about helping, accompanying others? Go ahead.
Me hace sentir bien, o sea, al ver crecer a otros, me da satisfacción. Entonces, me ayuda, al ver que a otros les va mejor, me siento contento, satisfecho.
Okay. Very good. I would go a little deeper, that it makes you feel like your life is worth living. That's a little bit like, yes, for me, I'm happy with an ice cream cone, but it's not my care. So when I say, here's how I discovered my care, Diego. When I began it took me 20 years. This is not a snap quiz. This is your life at stake. When I finally said, I could do this or I could do that, and I think I want to do that, and that was really good. And when I really got clear on my care, I asked the following question. Will I be satisfied with my life if I don't do this? No, I need to do this. That was my care. Otherwise, you could say, no, that is such a great thing. I feel happy accompanying people to live better lives, but I need to go to work. You're not yet there because your life will not be full. You must do it. And it's not clear until you confront yourself. This is why this often shows up later in life, because when we're young, we have forever. Yeah. But what you have has a good vibe because it brings you energy. It makes you alive. That's a good place to start. Then walk with your care, but walk with it in the domain of action, not just feeling. What are you going to do with this care? Is it going to make you feel fully alive to do this, to dedicate yourself to this? Or does it sound difficult and heavy? And so you see, you're having a conversation with this inner part, and this is a process of discovery and creation. And I look forward to your journey. Okay?
Gracias, Bob.
Thank you.
Jorge. ¡Yay! Ya abriste el micrófono.
Hola Bob, buenas noches. Primero, gracias por tus comentarios y por las orientaciones vertidas el día de hoy. Yo quería que me comentes o me respondas sobre un tema en particular que lo tocaste al inicio de la charla, que es justamente el compromiso. Sí. Sabemos que el compromiso es una variable muy importante como piedra o cimiento inicial para generar el valor del futuro que queremos construir, ¿no? Que si bien es cierto, es simple a primera vista, pero tiene un significado más profundo, ¿no? Entonces, mi pregunta es, ¿por qué nos encontramos con personas que no asumen su compromiso, no solo de su vida, sino también con los demás en los diferentes roles que cumplen? Gracias, Bob.
Yeah, I'm hearing both tracks, so I'm having difficulty hearing the last part. Yeah, can you repeat the question in English, the English channel, please? Yes.
Sí.
No, just tell me what he said. His question is.
Sobre el tema del compromiso. ¿Por qué nos encontramos con personas que no asumen su compromiso, no solo de su vida, sino también con los demás en sus diferentes roles?
Okay, so to get it right, why do people have difficulty with commitment? I'm hearing both tracks, so it's hard for me to.
Bob is like,
okay, good. Yeah. So commitment is something that some people actually don't know what it is. They think a commitment is an agreement or something outside themselves. Oh, I made a commitment. And then they don't behave according to the agreement, to the commitment. You see, we can make a commitment and fail to fulfill it, but that's different than my actions are not even consistent with the commitment. So if I do my best, I'm committed, even if I fail. Commitment is revealed by the action, not by the statement. And so you have to feel the place where you move from the commitment. And some people who have not discovered that place or have stories about commitment that is dangerous, or it's I'm being taken advantage of, or I may fail. There are many barriers to people's commitment. They wind up operating out of their opinions, not their commitment. And so as a coach, as a leader, you need to learn that. Do you really fully commit when you make a promise? Or you only say you commit? Is your behavior demonstrating the commitment? When you observe people as a coach or consultant, do they commit and then it shapes their action or not? Because when it doesn't, there is something in the way. That is your question. And we need to discover, is the problem they don't know what commitment is and they need to learn it? And we need to teach their body in simple practice. Or they know what commitment is, but they have a big story. One of the ways that happens very common in organizations is people make commitments by saying yes because they think they have to, but they're not really committed. And they use the story that I'm going to get fired and I am under threat and I have to say yes, but there's no commitment. There's only the yes. I learned this very early in my career. I did not want yes. I wanted a trustworthy commitment. And so you see, Jorge, you're revealing how important something so fundamental is, that when the actions are not happening, when the behavior is not consistent, when the results are not showing up, very often it's because there's really no commitment. There's only the pretense of commitment. And leaders and professionals, if that is going on, they need to be assisted. They need to be shown that is going on. And if they have the story, the excuse, I have to say yes, I have to pretend to be committed, then we need to have an honest conversation with them. How are you going to win? Yes, you need to survive. Yes, you need to win. But you know that when you make commitments and fail, you're building a public identity. Is this a public identity you want? I've coached many people who had the story that I can't be honest with my commitment. How to make commitments by saying yes and by saying no, and then delivering, and they build power. And if they're in such a toxic organization that you cannot say no when it's appropriate, and you don't leave, then don't complain. That's your choice. How am I doing, Jorge? Making sense?
Conforme. Gracias, Bob.
Yeah.
Jorge,
This is
Bob,
that's a huge breakdown in organizations. Yeah.
no, déjame completar algo, Jorge, que es importante también con respecto a lo que Bob te está diciendo acerca del compromiso. El compromiso es es un músculo que desarrollamos, que encontramos en nosotros y que aprendemos a escuchar en otros. No es algo que simplemente nosotros, como Bob te estaba diciendo, escuchamos en las palabras. No es recibir un sí, que es lo que muchos líderes y muchos jefes esperan. Es realmente poder estar en un espacio de conexión donde nosotros escuchemos que el compromiso viene realmente de lo que a esta persona le importa, de lo que esta persona está dispuesta a hacer, del futuro que está dispuesta a crear. Cuando yo empecé a estudiar el liderazgo generativo, empecé a estudiarlo en Estados Unidos. Y yo le decía a Bob que para mí había una diferencia bastante grande entre estudiar con norteamericanos y estudiar con latinoamericanos. Y era que en Norteamérica tú les escuchas el compromiso, pero necesitan encontrar la pasión y el corazón. Nosotros en Latinoamérica tenemos mucha pasión y mucho corazón y tenemos el sí fácilmente, pero no encontramos la disciplina del compromiso. Y el compromiso es parte de lo que conectamos en la disciplina de lo que vamos a hacer, la convicción de lo que vamos a hacer y el corazón con el que lo vamos a hacer. Entonces, cuando somos líderes y nosotros como coaches y como consultores generativos y como líderes también, porque dentro del proceso de coaching y consultoría aprendemos del liderazgo en nosotros mismos, aprendemos a desarrollar este sentido, este músculo y empezamos no solamente a escuchar y aprender a escuchar, sino que adicionalmente aprendemos a enseñarle a nuestros líderes y a nuestros clientes a poder hacerlo. Por eso cuando nosotros hablamos de cuál es el valor que yo quiero generar en el futuro, Bob empieza a hablarles del compromiso, porque es lo primero en lo que necesitamos entrar en contacto con nosotros mismos. Y ese compromiso viene del care, de realmente yo quiero esto, realmente esto me importa para el futuro, qué conexión somática, emocional, corporal, mental trae para mí esto que yo quiero hacer. Y ahí en el cuerpo, porque es en tu cuerpo, encuentras el compromiso. Y desde ahí te conectas con quienes quieres comprometer y con quienes se quieren comprometer. Y ahí es donde los equipos encontramos nuestras alianzas, encontramos nuestra alineación y encontramos el poder de generar equipos de alto desempeño convencidos de sus acciones, convencidos de su compromiso, con ganas de generar ese futuro con el que están convencidos. Entonces, esto para mí es súper importante decírselos porque parte de generar el valor que yo quiero generar para el futuro que quiero, tiene que ver con entrar en conexión con lo que me importa cuidar, encontrar mi compromiso y poder ponerlo en una manifestación a través de mis conversaciones, de mis acciones y de los resultados que quiero dar. Así que parte de eso tiene que ver con muchos de ustedes, como les decía, están aquí porque quieren construir un futuro nuevo. Algunos de ustedes quieren una vida nueva. Algunos de ustedes quieren eh, entrar en el camino de la consultoría. Algunos de ustedes quieren dejar de ser líderes y entrar a acompañar a otros, ¿no? Tenemos muchos casos de personas o muchas personas en el programa que han sido vicepresidentes y presidentes de organizaciones y quieren entrar en la consultoría. Y desde ahí lo primero que hacemos es conectarlos con su experiencia, con su historia, con la convicción que han tenido alrededor de su vida, pero conectándolos con el que y con el futuro que quieren crear. Y desde ahí es de donde empezamos a escuchar, a hablar, a conectarnos y a poder generar ese futuro. Ese es parte del camino al que Bob, yo y todo el equipo los estamos invitando a que puedan estar en ese espacio de escucha, de conexión con los otros y de servicio desde lo que les importa cuidar y de lo que les importa cuidar para cuidarlos a ellos también, porque es parte de lo que hacemos los coaches y los consultores, ¿no? Alinearnos con nuestros clientes, con lo que nuestros clientes quieren y poder producir lo que necesitan. Eh, yo quisiera ser muy juiciosa con el tiempo. Pero sé que Natalia tiene una pregunta. Entonces, lo que les propongo es, hay algunos de ustedes que sé que se quieren desconectar. Quiero agradecerles enormemente por haber venido, pero no quiero dejar que Natalia se quede con su pregunta. Así que escuchemos a Natalia y después nos despedimos. ¿Les parece? Natalia.
Thank you very much. Just a quick question, Bob, and thank you very much to taking us from around all these domains. I was reading the website of the program, and I was very interested about a statement that I found, and you said that the real power comes from making promises. And maybe I know that could be a huge topic, but if you can share with us a little bit of your insights about this statement, that would be awesome. Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely. Your power is your promise. If let's do a simple example. Let's say that you go to the dentist to fix a tooth, and he says, "Oh, I have a 10% success rate with this problem." That's not a very powerful promise. Are you going to pay a lot for that promise? Are you going to trust that promise? But if you go and say, no, 99.9%, you're going to have more trust. You're going to pay more for that promiser. And what the statement that the promise is the power is to show the blind spot that we think our value, our results come from hard work, that comes from what we do. No, your value does not come from what you do. The value comes from the promises you fulfill that people want. And so when you can make a bigger promise, so when I was in Silicon Valley, one promise I made for part of my career was I would write good computer code. And that was value, had a certain value if I wrote good code. If I wrote bad code, it would be lower value. I would probably get fired. And then I became a manager. And now my promise was to have a team of people write good code, put it together in something that really worked. That was a bigger promise. I was more valuable. I would be listened to with more respect for these bigger promises. And then I was promoted to be a director, and I had and a program manager. And all of a sudden I was responsible for the code that was being produced and the quality of the product for 250 engineers. And it was a bigger promise. And I was listened to in more conversations and with more respect because I was making a bigger promise. Is this making sense? Your power is your promise?
Great, thank you.
Natalia, también cuando te decimos que tu promesa es tu poder, también queremos que ustedes entiendan que cuando nosotros hacemos promesas, fundamos la promesa para que la promesa sea confiable. Y esto tiene unas prácticas, tiene unas conversaciones, tiene una estructura para que tu promesa pueda ser confiable y para que tu promesa pueda tener la posibilidad de ser creíble y la posibilidad de darte la fuerza y el poder que ella tiene. Aprender a hacer promesas, digamos que en el lenguaje coloquial a veces hablamos de promesas, pero las promesas no salen simplemente del corazón. No, las promesas tienen un proceso de conversaciones, tienen un proceso de traer a la conversación a las personas que necesitas, a las personas que requieres. Tiene un fundamento de mirar si la puedes cumplir o no la puedes cumplir. Tiene el fundamento de ver si tienes capacidad o no. Entonces, cuando nosotros hablamos de que la promesa tiene un poder, la promesa tiene un proceso de producirse de manera confiable. Y eso es parte de las habilidades y las competencias que aprendemos como líderes, como consultores y como coaches. Porque que es otra de las habilidades que también le enseñamos a nuestros clientes, para que los clientes sean también poderosos en la manera como guían a sus equipos y cómo pueden comprometerse con sus organizaciones, ¿no? Entonces, como decías tú, seguramente es un proceso más largo. De hecho, producir promesas confiables es parte de los primeros 6 meses del programa. Pero cuando empiezas a encontrar el poder de tus promesas y de que tus promesas sean confiables, también puedes sentirlas, como Bob le estaba mostrando a Diego, el care. Se fundamentan, se sienten fuertes, se sienten poderosas y sientes adicionalmente la tracción de que va a llegar al futuro y de que la puedes hacer y de que el equipo está alineado y de que las conversaciones que han hecho se pueden lograr. Eso quería completar.
Muchas gracias.
Súper. Bueno, ya nos pasamos de tiempo. Yo sé que, no sé si esto les pasa a ustedes, pero yo me podría quedar escuchando a Bob el resto de mi vida. De hecho, ya llevo 11 años escuchándolo y sigo feliz de escucharlo cada vez que puedo. Em, Queremos agradecerles enormemente por haber venido, por habernos escuchado. Sabemos que para algunos de ustedes es tarde ya en la noche, pero que hayan estado aquí con nosotros a esta hora y durante esta hora y 40 minutos significa que están escuchando algo que realmente les está haciendo sentido. Así que mi invitación para ustedes es, vengan, conversemos, cuéntenos en dónde están en su momento de vida, qué es ese futuro que quieren crear. Y tienen a Bob, tenemos todo el grupo de coaches, me tienen a mí para identificar si este es el camino que ustedes necesitan, si pueden empezarlo ya y cómo podemos lograr hacer que ustedes lo empiecen ya y que lo logremos juntos. No tienen que hacerlo solitos. Y esa es otra cosa que van a aprender en el liderazgo generativo, y es que creemos en el poder de los equipos y de que con los equipos se puede llegar más lejos. Así que queremos ponerles nuestro conocimiento, nuestra experiencia, nuestras prácticas, nuestras conversaciones. Cada uno de ustedes está aquí porque seguramente alguno de los coaches del programa o de los alumnos del programa los invitó. Así que abran las primeras conversaciones y el futuro está a la distancia de una conversación. Bob, do you wanna close the space, please?
Everybody take a deep breath. And I invite you to the mood of gratitude because you did not earn that breath. It is given to you as a gift. And in the spirit of our conversation today, I want to ask you, what are you going to do with that gift? You were given these moments, you were given this energy, you're given, and you face the huge challenge and the huge opportunity of being a human being. You have choice. And so much of our history has told us we don't have choice. This is a time to wake up and say, I have choice. And I have breath. And I don't have forever. What am I going to do with it? And that is the gift of life to you. And in that journey, you can create value, satisfaction, and meaning for yourself and for others. I think that's as good as it gets and is good enough for me. So let's celebrate a little bit and play with our choices. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos por haber venido. Vamos a tener acceso a la grabación. Y bueno, y como siempre, bienvenidos a esta conversación y a muchas más. Les mando un abrazo. Muchas gracias a todos por estar acá.
Chao.
Ciao.
Gracias, feliz noche para todos.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, buenas noches a todos. Gracias, Marité.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, gracias. ¿Cómo?